a really late rally or even a really late fundraiser, just even going through the White House transcripts, you can see that they have to correct his words a lot and he can meander. I think of, one particular fundraiser just last September in New York when Joe Biden repeated the Charlottesville story that he's often told about deciding to run. He basically told the same story word for word, just a few minutes apart. And then just at a recent rally in Detroit, it was a late Sunday night, the White House transcription office had to correct the president's own words 9 times. And so basically what aides have told me is that he is just he's solid between the hours of 10 to 4, but he often makes more mistakes. He can ramble beyond those hours. And there's a reason why he doesn't have many public events before 10. There's a reason he doesn't have many public events on camera after 4. And it's for that reason, the limitations of his age and how the White House has adapted around them.
All the more curious why he agreed to a 9 p.m. debate. One of the rules. But Alex, thank you very much. We really appreciate you sharing all of your reporting with us. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
Let's bring in our panel. We have CNN senior political commentator and former special assistant to President George W. Bush, Scott Jennings, and CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona. Great to see both of you. Maria, what do you think of this new reporting from Alex Thompson that Biden's closest aides, in particular, the Anthony Bernal, who is, a special assistant, I think, to Jill Biden, the first lady, and then another top aide, Annie Tomasini, that they've been shielding him and protecting him, even from people within the White House?
I think that after Thursday night's debate, reporters are looking for any kind of breathless reporting about what happens behind the scenes. So I don't really think much of it. Different presidents have different ways of interacting with their staff. Senior staff will always err on the side of protecting their principal. I think what is really important here, Allison, is what is the Biden campaign and the Biden family going to do now? And what we have seen, and this I think is relevant reporting, is that the Biden campaign and President Biden himself is calling allies, calling supporters, calling donors. He did the rally on Friday, which, it was a night and day difference between the guy who showed up on Thursday and what he did on Friday. He's reassuring people that he is committed to staying in. He is committed to winning. They understand that there is a lot of damage control that needs to be done, and they are committed to doing it. And the other important thing here is, Allison, in terms of the recent numbers that's come out right after the debate, the race substantially has not really shifted. And the focus on Joe Biden has left no focus for what needs to be a focus on Donald Trump and what he said during the debate.
Absolutely. It has eclipsed most of the lies that President Trump told, and we can get into that. But I just want to challenge your numbers, Maria, because we do have new polls that are just out, and maybe we can pull them up in our control room. But in terms of what voters think, voters do feel more so today than they did even just a month ago. Whether he should run, whether, if he's sort of been too compromised, whether he should run. 72%, this is the new CBS poll, say he should not be running for president. So, and that again is contrasted with February. So it's, it's not just the pundits. It's not just the editorial boards.
Understood. But again, Allison, these kinds of polls, the way that question is asked, it doesn't ask about the contrast. It doesn't ask about the choice, right? That is what is before us in November. That is what the $33 million that President Biden was able to raise 3 times more than what the Trump campaign raised. That is where that matters, because voters saw what happened Thursday night. They also heard what came out of Donald Trump's mouth. And what's interesting, Allison, I need to tell this anecdote really quickly. I was doing analysis on CNN Espanol where the audience heard the debate through translators. The dials that were done for Spanish language voters, where they only heard it through translators, the independents moved toward President Biden because of the craziness that they heard out of Donald Trump's mouth.
That is interesting. I mean, it's very interesting, Scott. Actually, when you contrast style versus substance, there's a different answer. I find that interesting. But Scott, your thoughts on all of this?
First of all, everybody needs to be thanking Alex Thompson for what he's doing. I think he is covering and uncovering one of the biggest scandals in modern presidential history. The President of the United States for the last 3.5 years, apparently, cannot be seen by more than 12 people. However, we have seen a number of White House staffers and other Democrats, members of Congress, people in the party or whatever, claim repeatedly on our air and everywhere else that they are routinely behind closed doors with him and that he is so lucid and then he's doing handstands and he's running around the room and riding unicycles and juggling knives. It's obviously a complete and total fabrication. It's a farce. It's a lie. The president is compromised. Alex is, if this were any other president and if it were Trump or any other Republican, we would be on the air right now talking about the 25th Amendment. It is a scandal what we've been told and what we're now hearing and what we all saw with our own eyes on Thursday night.
But Scott, what about what Maria's saying, that all presidents have a, inner circle that protects them and that, not everybody can have access to the president. Wasn't that the case?
He said 12 people. He said 12 people is about all he can see. And he also said, more importantly, that between the hours of 4 p.m. and 10 a.m. the next day, he's not really up to the job. Now, I hate to say it, but stuff happens.
Scott, I hear what you're saying, but, Donald Trump was off the clock a lot of the time. We have heard about how he was watching television. Yeah. I mean, we heard a lot of that reporting when he was president. So it's hard to say. I hear what you're saying, Scott. Maria, Congressman Jamie Raskin told MSNBC this morning that there are, quote, very honest and serious conversations happening within the Democratic Party right now about what the next steps really should be. What are you hearing? Are you hearing those kinds of conversations?
Look, of course, and let's be real, there is concern among the Democratic Party after Thursday night. But the fact of the matter is that there has been no Democratic elected official, no DNC member, and I was on a DNC call with Chairman Jamie Harrison. No one right now is calling for President Biden to step aside. Everyone understands that the president, what he has said thus far, and what seems to be the case, he is going to stay in. And so here is what happens, Allison. Once that has been settled, and right now that is settled, the president is our nominee. He got the vast majority of all of the votes and has the majority of the delegates, all the delegates going into the convention. We need to understand the choice before us, because you have a good man who had a bad night, and the contrast is with a bad man who wants to destroy our Constitution, destroy our democracy, destroy our rights and freedoms. And that's what Democrats
I think
understand.
That the question is if there's going to be a third way. And so, Scott, as you know, he's meeting with his family. That was always planned. But you've been at some of those behind-the-scenes meetings, not obviously with the Bidens. But what do you think is going to happen this weekend?
Well, there's reporting. There's reporting tonight from the New York Times that the Biden family strongly wants Joe Biden to stay in. And the Times says that the strongest voice in the room is convicted felon, notorious influence peddler, and crack addict Hunter Biden. Now, listen, gravy trains with biscuit wheels have a lot of momentum, and I understand why they want him to stay in the race. This is crazy. The issue is not the campaign. Joe Biden is not just a political property. He's the current president of the United States. Stuff's happening every day. He's got 2 jobs, run for office and conduct the office while he's in it. Maria said nobody wants the president to step aside. Nobody except for 72% of the American people in the poll you just put up thinks he should step aside. People are freaking out right now because of what they saw. You cannot unsee what we saw, and you can also not unlearn what we have learned, which is that we've been lied to for 3.5 years about this man's condition. Now, I have no doubt they're going to stick with him. They're going to leave him in there, and that's probably, fine, so we can go ahead and have this election, and Donald Trump's going to roll to victory. And when he does, Democrats will have no one to blame but themselves for going down this charade for so long.
So, Scott, a couple things. Hold on, Maria. A couple things. Okay. Because of Biden's performance, it has eclipsed much of what Donald Trump said. So are Republicans comfortable with his answers at the debate? Here's what he said about the violence, for instance, on January 6th. Listen to this.
My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
Oh, well, he went on to say that, he went on to brag about what a great